Good morning. Am I on? Okay. Good morning. My name is Louise White. I use she, her pronouns. I am a member of the Unitarian Universalist Society of Amherst and part of our Reproductive Justice Task Force. Welcome to you, old friends and new, young and old, in the Zoom and in the sanctuary. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. Today, we're talking about reproductive justice, making music together, and we welcome our dedicated offering speaker, Castle O'Neill, from the Abortion Rights Fund of Western Mass.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Rachael Hayes. I use she, her pronouns. It is my honor to serve as the minister of this congregation. I call us to worship this morning with these opening words from the Reverend Elizabeth Mount. To begin, to start, to create, to undertake, to grow, to promise, to increase, to generate, all these are our birthright. As we are created, so may we create. The ability and the choice to create is sacred. To withdraw that chance from any person without their permission would be a violent act, the cutting off of life itself. And yet, as precious is the right to simply not, to end, to terminate, to stop, to discontinue, to rest, to hibernate, to impede, to prevent. These too are our birthright, for without consent, our ability to create becomes not a blessing, but a burden and an imposition. Without space for a no, there can be no trustworthy yes. Today we come to this holy place and time, ready to invoke the divine, to make space for the sacred, to co-create community once again. This too is a choice. You cannot, you may not be coerced into relationship with the holy or with one another. I invite you, I ask you to join us. I respect it if you will not, today or ever. More sacred than any other individual need is choice, the right to know oneself, the right to know what you are ready for, what you need, to stretch when you can, to pause when you will, to know your body, your mind, your spirit better than anyone else. And ultimately, to be trusted with the responsibility of your own living.
We light the chalice this morning with hope in our democracy and with strength we gather from one another. May its flame remind us of our highest ideals, and may it burn brightly in our hearts.
So kids, you are welcome to come up front this morning. We are going to be standing and moving around and having some fun. Adults, you may prefer to remain seated, or if you like to stand, I recommend you go to the side so that people can still see. Yeah, we're not quite leaving yet. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know when this crowd got stage fright, but it's, so. We're going to do something that I learned from Black women and femmes at Unitarian Universalist racial justice trainings. And I think maybe I did it here a long time ago, but it's good to do it again and stay in practice with this one. So kids and adults, all you have to do is repeat after me. Let's take this off because I'm gesturing. You see these hands? I love these hands.
I love these hands.
They ain't your hands.
They ain't your hands.
They're my hands.
They're my hands.
Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
You see these feet? I love these feet.
I love these feet.
They ain't your feet.
They ain't your feet.
They're my feet.
They're my feet.
Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
You see these arms?
You see these arms?
I love these arms.
I love these arms.
They ain't your arms.
They ain't your arms.
They're my arms.
They're my arms.
Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
You see these legs?
You see these legs?
I love these legs.
I love these legs.
They ain't your legs.
They ain't your legs.
They're my legs.
They're my legs.
Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
You see this face?
You see this face?
I love this face.
I love this face.
It ain't your face.
It ain't your face.
It's my face.
It's my face.
Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
You see this head?
You see this head?
I love this head.
I love this head.
It ain't your head.
It ain't your head.
It's my head.
It's my head.
Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
You see this hair?
You see this hair?
I love this hair.
I love this hair.
It ain't your hair.
It ain't your hair.
It's my hair.
It's my hair.
Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
You know how some of us don't actually have that much hair, right? And we said it anyway, and it was still fun. Not all of us have the next thing, but we can still say it together because it's an important part of how we gather, right? You see these wheels?
You see these wheels?
I love these wheels.
I love these wheels.
They ain't your wheels.
They ain't your wheels.
They're my wheels.
They're my wheels.
Mine, all mine. You see this body? I love this body.
I love this body.
It ain't your body.
It ain't your body.
It's my body.
It's my body.
Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
You see this self?
You see this self?
I love myself.
I love myself.
It ain't yourself.
It ain't yourself.
It's myself.
It's myself.
Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
Thank you.
4 months without Roe, a photo essay by Austin Risolvato, abridged. It's been 4 months since the fall of Roe versus Wade, and abortion access isn't guaranteed anywhere in this country. This is particularly true in the Southeast, where cascading abortion bans and ongoing legal battles have left patients little choice but to travel for care, if care is available at all. Park Cannon is a Georgia state representative and former board member of the Reproductive Justice organization Sister Song, who was arrested in March 2021 for knocking on the door to Governor Brian Kemp's office in the Georgia State House as he signed a bill that further restricted voting for Georgians. In 2019, when Sister Song decided to be the lead plaintiff to sue the Georgia government over the heartbeat bill, we were really clear at that moment that reproductive justice was our only option because it expands the conversation beyond access to the medical procedure. We've helped people to see that these stories are not in silos. That was a quote. Feminist Women's Health Center, an Atlanta reproductive services clinic providing care since 1976, recently purchased its building through fundraising. Now the center can bar anti-abortion protesters from its property. Clinics that lease their buildings don't get a say on who is trespassing on property owned by a landlord. Quote, "We want to make sure that our community has access to the care that they need," said Kwajalein Jackson, the executive director of Feminist Women's Health Center. Quote, "I want to make sure that Georgia, that the Southeast, that Atlanta has a clinic that will be able to stand to the test of time." And this is a quote from Sarah Tyndall Gazel. "Saying that the Supreme Court is sending the decision for reproductive rights to state legislators while also turbocharging one party to be able to have basically in-state minority rule, it's the same fight," said Sarah Tyndall Gazel, Minority Caucus Policy Director for the George House and a member of the State Election Board. "It's the same fight for the same values, which is making sure that everybody has the agency to decide their own future, whether it's who is governing them, making decisions on their behalf, or over their own bodies." The day that I knocked on Kemp's door, I understood that my act was nonviolent, and I'm a product of Dr. King's nonviolence teachings as a member of his and Raphael Warnock's church, Cannon said. "It's something that is ingrained in me, but I also understand how, to others, knocking could seem violent. It could seem intrusive. It could seem as if I wasn't staying in my place. It was me trying to enter some place that I didn't have access to. And I think that it's really a perfect example of how there are so many places where we can't actually knock because of the ways that they're constructed. There are so many different versions of doors of injustice that exist, and we are knocking on them to create accountability," Cannon said. "We know that abortion is not the only thing that our folks need, and so we're really invested in making sure that reproductive justice is accomplished," Kwajalein Jackson said. The full-length photo essay is available at rewirenewsgroup.com.
All right, here we are getting ready for a very important midterm election. I am mindful that some of us have already voted, some will vote on Tuesday, and some don't get to vote. But the results of this election will influence all of our lives and the lives of generations to come. And it's not the only way we can be part of this fight. If the election has been sitting heavily on your heart, you are not the only one. You're not overreacting. This matters. So many things are at stake this year, not least of which is reproductive justice. In June, the U.S. Supreme Court issued its ruling in Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization, overturning 50 years of the right to abortion. The right to abortion was cast back upon the states. Several states had trigger bans that went into effect. Other state legislatures passed laws either safeguarding or outlawing abortion. In Massachusetts, we currently lean toward more protected than not. Our state legislature has passed laws to protect the right to abortion and even protect abortion providers caring for patients from out of state. This is good news. Of course, there are plenty of politicians, lobbyists, fundraisers, and talking heads who are working hard to make abortion illegal in all states. This has been true for decades, not months. But the struggle goes back not decades, but centuries. 200 years ago, it was newly illegal to import enslaved people in this country. Not illegal to enslave people, just illegal to participate in international slave trafficking. The only way to increase the number of enslaved people in this country was for enslavers to force the enslaved people already here to give birth. At the same time, medicine was becoming formalized. That's a nice way to say that medical doctors were pushing out folk medicine practitioners, midwives, and barber surgeons. In the field of gynecology and obstetrics, doctors gained this knowledge by experimenting without anesthesia on living enslaved women. Legally, they were property, not people. They had no legal rights. Because they were Black, because they were enslaved, it was perfectly acceptable to sacrifice them, to use their bodies and ignore their pain, to gain knowledge that would benefit white people. For centuries, white people have sought to control the pregnancies and births of Black people. Slavery is all about controlling another person's body and destiny for material gain, after all. Controlling people for gain. That is what is at stake in this election. It comes up in reproductive justice, it comes up in voter suppression, it comes up in gender-affirming healthcare for trans kids, it comes up in immigration rights. Black women and femmes have been resisting this control for hundreds of years. We should listen to them rather than making up something new or co-opting the justice movements they have developed. Even when abortion was a constitutional right in every state, that didn't guarantee that everyone could access the abortions they need, either because clinics were too far away, they didn't have the money. In the 1990s, the Southern Black-led organization Sister Song developed the Reproductive Justice platform, the human right to maintain personal bodily autonomy, have children, not have children, and parent the children we have in safe and sustainable communities. To control one's body, to have children, not have children, to parent the children we have in safe and sustainable communities. It's a more compelling dream, not the theoretical right to a medical procedure if you can access it, if you can afford it, but a vision of a whole reproductive destiny. And it touches everything. It's not just about bodies, parenthood, or non-parenthood. It's about making your own choices, controlling your own being rather than being controlled. It's safe communities where parents can raise their children free from racism, poverty, ecological devastation, and gender-based oppression. Aside from the candidates we have the opportunity to vote for, reproductive justice is on our ballot too. We're not voting on abortion rights as a ballot question the way some other states are, but we are voting for the kind of communities we want. Question 1 is to additionally tax income above a $1 million threshold for community improvement efforts. Better schools, roads, bridges, and transit. This tax is projected to bring in $1.3 billion in 2023. Money which will lessen racial and economic disparity in our Commonwealth. These investments in our communities pay off, give children a better start in life, and give families a better chance to survive. Question 4 is to affirm a law our state legislature passed earlier this year to issue driver's licenses to all qualified drivers regardless of immigration status. It was called the Work and Family Mobility Act in the legislature. Families need to take their kids to the places they need to go, need to drive without fear of being deported for a routine traffic stop, need to drive to work. It's about human dignity, about safety for families, and safety for all of us as we share the roads. Reproductive justice is on our ballot. I encourage you to vote yes on both of these questions. And before you worry that I am jeopardizing our tax status, knowing that I am talking about the morals of ballot questions is nonpartisan and officially fair game. I encourage you to remind your friends to vote, and to vote all the way to the end of the ballot where the questions are, to vote yes for this world where all people control their reproductive destinies. Get out the vote. There's still time, right? You can talk to your friends. You can phone bank. You can get up there and do it. But talk to your friends about the things that matter to you on the ballot this year, because they trust you and you're already having this conversation. Of course, voting is not the only way to create a world of reproductive justice. It's just a very topical one this week. Learning about reproductive justice movements locally and nationally is a great place to start. The Abortion Rights Fund of Western Massachusetts website has a treasure trove of resources, as does the Sister Song website, and I encourage you to start there. You can learn more about gender, reproductive anatomy, and sexuality. We are so great at teaching sex ed to our kids. But when was the last time you had a sex ed class? Maybe the conversation's changed since then. The movement to control people's bodies also plays out in anti-trans legislation, and we need to remember that abortion is not just for women, that trans men and non-binary people also get pregnant and need the whole range of reproductive health care, including abortion, prenatal care, labor and delivery, and they deserve to, 1, simply access that care, not be written out of the conversation, which is harder for trans and non-binary patients, and 2, to have their gender and dignity respected during that care, and by us, in the ways that we talk about it. We can get involved in the struggle for justice, even if it feels like the action is happening somewhere far away. Right now, right here in Western Mass, we can begin building relationships with organizations like the Abortion Fund, who are not just raising money, but organizing. Local activists are organizing standouts at crisis pregnancy centers, fake medical clinics that exist to coerce people into not getting abortions. No matter what happens in the election on Tuesday, we have work to do. No matter what happens, the fascists are bound to lose because we are going to keep fighting them. And it's by the relationships that we build that we will be an effective part of the movement. I invite you to rise in body and spirit to sing, I Know I Can. Spirit of compassion, connection, and grace, be with us through this election. Help us all keep to these highest ideals. Inspire those who are elected and responsible for doing the work of government in an official way to listen to those who are the foundation of our democracy. We ask all of this and the million things in our hearts this morning in the name of the connections we share. Blessed be. Amen.
As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 billows gray, are touched with all the radiance
So I'm Ann Perkins. I'm a member of the Dedicated Offering Committee, and I am really excited that this month's offering will be to the Abortion Rights Fund of Western Massachusetts, an organization that has been dear to my heart for many, many years. One of the founders was Susie Lowenstein, who was my neighbor and who died at age 95 this past winter. And I'm really delighted to introduce you to Castle O'Neill, who is going to tell us more about the Abortion Rights Fund. She's a longtime Montessori educator, and let's see, she joined the fund only last May, but she's a volunteer with the fund, and I'm sure she'll explain to you more about what it means to be a volunteer. She's a member of the Outreach Committee, where she supports the fund's social media presence, and the Challenging White Supremacist Culture Committee, which explores the fund's internal work of interrogating white supremacy. She's been an Amherst resident since 2016 and has spent much of her life in Virginia. She is joined here today by Kate Glenn, who is one of the co-chairs of the fund. And lest I forget, let me tell you that after the service, we'll be out there outside, and you'll be able to ask questions of both of them. Castle?
Good morning. Thank you, Anne, and thanks to all of you for choosing to donate this month's offerings to the fund and for inviting us here to speak today. Abortion funds are in the business of paying for abortions and breaking down as many barriers to access as we can. If you or your partner needed an abortion today at Planned Parenthood or one of the other independent clinics across the state, in the first 13 weeks, the cost would be $600 to $700 out of pocket. And as the weeks go on, the costs increase. A right is not a right if you can't pay for it, or you don't have access to it because of where you live. Abortion funds are here to take down as many barriers as possible. We pay for procedures, we help with practical support, and we help with emotional support. We don't ask our clients why they want or need an abortion. We ask how much money and what resources will get you to your appointment. With the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision, abortion funds are facing increased demands. As the rule of law shifts from state to state, we don't fully know what the impact will be here in Western Massachusetts, but we're definitely seeing the impact in Eastern Massachusetts. And we're working with our sister fund, the Eastern Mass Abortion Rights Fund, to determine the need and figure out how to best meet it. And if you want to help us in meeting that need right now, there are actionable things you can do. The first one is talk about abortion. Use the word abortion, and talk about abortion as another form of healthcare, just like any other form of healthcare. When I was 17, I had an abortion, and it's hard for me to imagine what my life would be like if that right had not been available to me. The first time I said that publicly, it felt really awkward. Every time I say it, it gets easier. The second is tell all of your people about abortion funds and about the independent clinics that need support in addition to supporting Planned Parenthood. And if you'd like to know about opportunities right in this community for rallies, for fundraising, for volunteer opportunities, we have I want to make sure I get the name right, Community Rapid Response email list, and Kate's gonna have QR cards with QR codes so you can get connected to that and sign up for that. And third, please continue to donate. Help us strengthen the infrastructure of the state. The 4 abortion funds of the state are working closer than ever to strengthen the infrastructure of our individual regions, and across the state, across the Northeast, and across the country. We want to support as many people as possible, both the people who live here in Massachusetts and people who need to travel here. And this is one of those moments where throwing money at a problem is the right thing to do. And so with our donations that we get from people like you, we can redistribute the wealth both to individuals in our community and to abortion funds in states that are at the forefront of this fight for access. As an organization, we acknowledge and stand in the power of all who came before us and taught us about support and the power of mutual aid. We stand proud and ready to do the work of destigmatizing access to abortion. We know that our callers are our neighbors, our colleagues, and our friends, and as the brilliant reproductive justice leader Renee Bracey Sherman reminds us, everyone loves someone who had an abortion. As we work toward a world where abortion is freely accessible, safe, and legal, just like any other health support, we rely on and deeply appreciate the support of community organizations and faith organizations like yours. Thank you. And we will see you outside afterwards.
Thank you all for being here today. Now I invite you to rise and place your hands over your heart or reach out for the hand of the person beside you as we sing our closing song. Actually leave because we're going to have a rocking postlude. I send you forth with these words from the Reverend Leah Derlin-Jones. For those who came before us, we offer gratitude and thanks. May their memories be a blessing. May we feel surrounded by their love. As we go forth from this time and place, let us be inspired by their courage, their wisdom, and their dreams. Let us honor them by doing the work of living boldly, loving mightily, and creating heaven on earth. Amen, and blessed be.
All right. What a wonderful community you have. It's great to be here with you. So for the postlude, I'm offering this song I wrote called No More Sacrifice Zones. And I wrote this song inspired by a book by the journalist Chris Hedges. He wrote it in 2012. It's called Days of Destruction, Days of Revolt. And in this book, he and his co-author, Joe Sacco, travel around the United States looking at the places in our country that have been sacrificed to the logic of capitalism, the logic of accumulation, the logic that tears apart the ecological integrity of communities, that leaves those communities in disarray as the people who suffer from the poisons left in those communities also suffer from neglect from the state that does not provide. So there's a lot of sing-along parts to this song, and I invite you to sing along as I invited the chorus to also sing along. And I do think that, as we talk about fascism, the rise of the right, this political crisis of fascism is emerging in response to the social degradation that we see in this society because of our economic system, in my view of it. Here it goes. The army closed you in as they drove you from the plains, returning your homeland to a sacrifice zone. The company took the uranium, just the fallout remains. They're turning your homeland to a sacrifice zone, where your story's been forgotten. We will make it known. Sing that with me. We will make it known. We will make it known. Pine Ridge, you are not alone. Sing that with me. Pine Ridge, you are not alone. Pine Ridge, you are not alone. Your homeland has been desecrated. The next could be our own. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. Very good. The state makes voting obsolete through emergency decrees. They're turning your city to a sacrifice zone. The cops occupy your street to bring you to your knees. They're turning your city to a sacrifice zone, where your story's been forgotten. Where your story's been forgotten. We will make it known. We will make it known. Ferguson, you are not alone. Ferguson, you are not alone. Your city has been subjugated. The next could be our own. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. The coal men blew the mountain, killing everything nearby. They're turning your region to a sacrifice zone. The state refuses to help your people as you watch them die. They're turning your region to a sacrifice zone. Your story's been forgotten. Where your story's been forgotten, we will make it known. Appalachia, Appalachia, you are not alone. Your region has been desolated. The next could be our own. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. The profiteers will cut you down if you're in their way. They're turning your country to a sacrifice zone. The bombs that kill your children came from the USA. They're turning your country to a sacrifice zone, where your story's been forgotten. We will make it known. Yemen, Yemen, you are not alone. Your country has been decimated. The next could be our own. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice. Wisconsin, Appalachia, Yemen, Immokalee, Flint, Michigan, Northern Alberta, and Camden, Standing Rock, Navajo, Palestine, and Puerto Rico. We stand with you. You are not alone. Your lands and lives were sacrificed. The next will be our own. No